Here's a great little thing that I came up with, at least I think it's great. I'm going to ask Michelle here, we're going to test her amount of hip extension by asking her to keep her knee straight and raise this thing as high as you can. Whoa, we don't have much hip extension. You make sure they keep their ASISs against the table. Come on, raise that higher. Is that all the higher you can go? That's not very good. Sorry. And so we're going to try to do something to wake those glutes up, glute max up into hip extension. So I'm putting her in a figure 4 because for this to be effective, we have to have the muscles on the stretch. So we're going to put glute max on the stretch. We're going to kick in a mild stretch reflex through the dynamic gamma motoneuron system, the muscle spindle. We're going to try to create confusion in those interfusal and extrafusal fibers so that it creates tone and starts to activate this weak glute. So here I go. I've got soft fist. You can use whatever tool you want. I'm dropping my body weight and I'm going to start with a fast-paced, almost irritating, slightly irritating spindle stim maneuver, going all over in all different directions on glute max to wake that up. And you're not doing topodement. I don't want you doing this. I'm dropping my body weight. Coming in, dropping my body weight and doing fast-paced spindle maneuvers with my fists. 2 minutes per side. I'm really waking this thing up. Come down low. Okay, now let's stop and pull her out of here. Okay, raise that leg. A little better. Quite a bit better, really. Make sure when you do this test they keep the ASISs pinned to the table or else they'll cheat on you. You know, if they can lift the whole hip, then you won't get a true test. Do this every session. Wake up those weak gluteals. First of all, I'm going to test Michelle to see how activated her lower shoulder stabilizers really are, how activated they are. So I'm going to ask her just to raise that arm as high as she can while I kind of hold this down, and that's about as much retraction as she has there, scapular retraction as she has. One more time. Come on back up again with it. That's not too bad. She's pretty good. Let's see if we can create a little bit more tone in there. So what we do, we put them in the handcuff cuff position right here. She grabs like that so we can put the muscles on the stretch. You can see now that the rhomboids and the lower traps are on the stretch. Posterior rotator cuff, we've got to work on it too. Typically weak. That's why we're getting a lot of rotator cuff injuries from this internal rotation and allowing the supraspinatus muscle to get trapped under that in the glenoid fossa and all those problems that we're familiar with. Okay, so we can use fingers, fists, elbows, whatever we want to use, but I'm going to start out with fingers on Michelle here, and I'm just going to create some tone in here by going in all different directions using my body weight. Be sure and drop your body weight in here and stimulating tone in first the lower shoulder stabilizers all the way down to the lower traps where the lower trapezius insert around T12. Creating some tone and moving the erectors back toward the midline and creating some tone. All different directions. The fibers run in all different directions. You can do this with fists. Dropping your body weight. You've got to really put some force through there to make it work. The dynamic gamma motoneuron system of the muscle spindle is what's causing this activation. Now come on to the posterior rotator cuff. So I'm going to create a little tone in the posterior rotator cuff muscles. Okay, so we've just done this one side. So we'll test and see if this has helped Michelle. So now let's raise it as high as you can. Whoa, pretty good. Quite a bit more activation in there. Try this one. And first time they come into your session for the next session, immediately test it before and after to see how long it's staying. That's what we're working on right now. How long can we make this stay, and how many sessions does it take to keep this activated?